CEO and the Little Girl, a story that will touch your heart. Marcus Sterling had everything money could buy. At 38, he was the youngest CEO of a Fortune 500 company, worth over $200 million. Yet as he sat in his corner office that Friday evening, staring at the rain streaking down his floor-to-ceiling windows, he felt emptier than ever. Emptier. The rain had started just as Marcus was leaving the office. He'd planned to drive straight home to his empty penthouse, maybe order some expensive takeout, and spend another weekend alone. But as he walked through the parking garage, he heard something that made him stop dead in his tracks. The sound of a child crying. Following the sound, he found her tucked behind a concrete pillar. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old, wearing a beautiful pink dress with sparkly shoes that caught the dim garage lighting. Her dark hair was styled in neat curls, and she clutched a small corsage in her trembling hands. Tears streamed down her face as she sobbed quietly, trying to muffle the sound with her sleeve. Marcus hesitated. He wasn't good with children. He'd built his empire by being ruthless, calculating, and emotionally distant. Children were unpredictable, messy, and everything he'd learned to avoid in his climb to the top. But something about this little girl's heartbroken sobs pierced through his carefully constructed walls. "Hey there," he said softly, crouching down to her level. "Sure, are you okay?" The little girl looked up at him with eyes red from crying. "I'm sorry, mister, I'll move. I know I'm not supposed to be here." "You're not in trouble," Marcus assured her, his voice gentler than it had been in years. "What's your name?" "Emma," she whispered. "Emma Rodriguez." "Oh, well, Emma, I'm Marcus. Can you tell me why you're crying? Are you hurt? Are you lost?" Emma shook her head, fresh tears spilling over. "Yeah, it's the father-daughter dance at school tonight. All my friends are there with their daddies, and I'm alone." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He'd attended plenty of those dances as a child, always with his own father who'd made time despite his busy schedule. He remembered feeling so proud, so loved, so secure in those moments. The thought of this little girl missing out on that feeling because she had no one broke something inside him. "Where are your parents, Emma? Are they coming to pick you up?" "My mom was working her second job at the hospital. She's a cleaner there and she can't leave or she'll get fired. She worked extra shifts just to buy me this dress." Emma smoothed down the pink fabric lovingly. "My daddy. He left when I was little. I don't really remember him." Marcus felt his throat tighten. Here was this beautiful little girl, dressed up and ready for one of childhood's most precious moments, sitting alone in a parking garage because life had dealt her an unfair hand. Meanwhile, he had everything material success could offer but no one to share it with. "Emma, would you like to go to that dance?" Her eyes widened. "But I don't have a daddy to take me." Marcus made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "Would you let me take you? Just for tonight, I could be your honorary dad." Emma studied his face carefully, the way children do when they're trying to determine if an adult can be trusted. Marcus waited patiently, understanding that this was a big decision for such a small person. "You really want to take me to the dance?" "I really do, but first we need to call your mom and make sure it's okay with her." It took some convincing. Carmen Rodriguez was understandably suspicious when her 8-year-old daughter called from a stranger's phone, explaining that a nice man wanted to take her to the school dance. But when she heard Marcus's voice, heard the genuine kindness in his tone, and learned that he was willing to drive to the hospital so she could meet him first, she reluctantly agreed. The meeting was tense at first. Carmen was tired from working double shifts, worried about her daughter, and skeptical of this wealthy man's motives. Marcus understood her concerns completely. He showed her his identification, gave her his business card, and even offered to have his assistant send her his background check results. "Why would you do this for Emma?" Carmen asked, her voice breaking slightly. "You don't even know us." Marcus looked at Emma, who was sitting quietly in the hospital waiting room, still clutching her corsage. "Because every little girl deserves to feel special. And because I think I need this as much as she does." There was something in his voice that convinced Carmen. Maybe it was the loneliness she recognized or the way Emma had already taken his hand trustingly. Whatever it was, she gave her permission, with the condition that she would meet them at the school as soon as her shift ended. The drive to the elementary school was filled with Emma's chatter. She told Marcus about her favorite subjects, art and reading, her best friend Sarah who would be at the dance, and how she'd been practicing her dance moves in her bedroom mirror for weeks. Marcus found himself genuinely enjoying her company, marveling at her resilience and optimism despite her circumstances. When they arrived at the school gymnasium, it was decorated with twinkling lights and colorful streamers. Fathers and daughters of all ages filled the dance floor, from tiny toddlers standing on their dad's feet to pre-teens awkwardly swaying to the music. Emma's eyes lit up with pure joy as she took in the scene. "It's so beautiful," she breathed. Marcus felt a lump in his throat as he watched her wonder. When was the last time he'd found such simple joy in anything? When had he stopped noticing beauty in the world around him? They signed in at the registration table, where the volunteer coordinator did a double take upon seeing Marcus Sterling's name. Word spread quickly among the other parents about the Millionaire CEO who'd brought little Emma Rodriguez to the dance. But instead of judgment or suspicion, Marcus found himself met with warm smiles and grateful nods. These parents understood the significance of what he was doing. The first dance was a slow song, and Emma was nervous. "I don't really know how to dance with a grown-up," she admitted, suddenly shy. "Neither do I," Marcus confessed with a smile. "We'll figure it out together." He offered her his hand, and she took it with a giggle. As they swayed to the music, Marcus was amazed by how natural it felt. Emma chattered about her classmates, pointed out her teacher, and waved excitedly at her friends. Other fathers nodded respectfully at Marcus, and several came over to introduce themselves and thank him for his kindness. During the fast songs, Emma's personality truly shone. She danced with abandon, her earlier sadness completely forgotten. Marcus found himself laughing more than he had in years as she taught him her special moves and insisted he try to keep up. For the first time in decades, he wasn't thinking about stock prices, board meetings, or profit margins. He was completely present in the moment, experiencing pure joy through a child's eyes. But the real test came when they announced the traditional father-daughter slow dance. This was the moment Emma had been dreaming of, the reason her absence would have hurt the most. As the music began, Marcus saw tears in Emma's eyes. But this time, they were tears of happiness. "Thank you, Mr. Marcus," she whispered as they danced. "This is the best night of my life." Marcus's own eyes misted over. "Thank you, Emma. You've given me something I didn't even know I was missing." Halfway through the song, he felt a gentle tap on his shoulder. Carmen had arrived, still in her hospital scrubs, but with tears of gratitude streaming down her face. She'd managed to get off work early to witness this precious moment. "May I cut in?" she asked softly. Marcus stepped back to let mother and daughter dance together, but Emma wouldn't let go of his hand. "We're all dancing together," she declared, pulling both adults into an awkward but perfect three-person sway. The other families on the dance floor watched with genuine warmth. Several people were wiping away tears. This wasn't just about one little girl getting her special night. It was about community, kindness, and the power of human connection. After the dance ended and the evening wound down, Marcus drove Emma and Carmen home to their small apartment. It was a stark contrast to his penthouse, cramped, showing signs of financial struggle, but filled with love and photographs and Emma's artwork covering the refrigerator. "Would you like some coffee?" Carmen offered, embarrassed by their modest surroundings but determined to show proper gratitude. As they sat around the small kitchen table, Emma fell asleep against Marcus's arm, exhausted from the excitement of the evening. Carmen and Marcus talked quietly about their lives, their struggles, their dreams. Marcus learned about Carmen's 2 jobs, her night school classes to become a nurse, and her fierce determination to give Emma every opportunity she could. That night changed everything for Marcus Sterling. He'd spent so many years climbing the corporate ladder that he'd forgotten what it felt like to simply be human, to connect with others, to find meaning beyond profit and success. Emma and Carmen had reminded him of what truly mattered. The story could have ended there, with one magical evening and a return to normal life. But Marcus Sterling was not a man who did things halfway. Over the following weeks, he found himself thinking constantly about Emma and Carmen. He discovered that there were dozens of children at Emma's school who faced similar challenges: single parents working multiple jobs, families struggling to make ends meet, children who felt left out of special events because of their circumstances. Marcus quietly established a scholarship fund at the school, covering everything from school supplies to field trip fees for children who needed help. He started a mentorship program pairing local business leaders with students who could benefit from positive male role models. And every month he volunteered at school events, not as the famous CEO Marcus Sterling, but simply as Mr. Marcus, the man who cared enough to show up. His relationship with Emma and Carmen grew into something he'd never expected, a chosen family. He helped with homework, attended school plays, and celebrated Emma's achievements as proudly as any biological father would. Carmen eventually finished nursing school with help from a scholarship Marcus had quietly funded, and she was able to leave her exhausting double shifts for a single, well-paying job at a private clinic. But perhaps the most significant change was in Marcus himself. His employees noticed that he'd become more patient, more understanding of their needs for work-life balance. He implemented generous family leave policies and created an on-site daycare center. His business philosophy shifted from pure profit maximization to sustainable success that benefited everyone in the company. Marcus also discovered that he wanted a family of his own. A year after that first father-daughter dance, he met Sarah, a teacher at Emma's school who'd been impressed by his genuine commitment to the children. Their relationship developed slowly and naturally, built on shared values and genuine affection rather than the superficial attractions that had characterized his previous relationships. 2 years later, Marcus and Sarah married in a small ceremony at the same school gymnasium where he'd first danced with Emma. Emma served as the flower girl, beaming with pride as she scattered rose petals down the aisle. Carmen caught the bouquet and everyone laughed when she blushed furiously. The family that Marcus Sterling built wasn't traditional, but it was perfect for them. He and Sarah adopted 2 siblings from foster care, giving them the stable home they desperately needed. Emma remained a central part of their lives, officially becoming Marcus's goddaughter and spending weekends at their house, where she had her own room decorated with her artwork and favorite books. 5 years after that rainy Friday night in the parking garage, Marcus Sterling looked around his backyard during Emma's 13th birthday party and marveled at how different his life had become. Children's laughter filled the air, friends and family crowded around picnic tables laden with homemade food, and he found himself in the middle of what he'd never known. He wanted a life filled with love, purpose, and genuine connection. Emma, now a confident teenager, still called him her honorary dad. She'd grown into a remarkable young woman, excelling in school and showing the same kindness to others that had been shown to her. She often volunteered with Marcus at various charity events, helping other children who faced similar challenges to what she'd once experienced. "Mr. Marcus," she said, pulling him aside during the party, "I have something to tell you." "What's that, sweetheart?" "My English teacher asked us to write about someone who changed our lives. I wrote about you, about that night you found me crying in the parking garage. But I realized something while I was writing it." "What did you realize?" Emma smiled, the same bright smile that had melted his heart years ago. "I thought you saved me that night. But really, we saved each other, didn't we?" Marcus felt the familiar tightness in his throat that Emma's wisdom always seemed to provoke. "Yes, we did. We absolutely did." Marcus Sterling learned that true wealth isn't measured in dollars or possessions, but in the lives we touch and the love we share. He discovered that sometimes the most important business decisions happen not in boardrooms, but in parking garages where little girls cry alone, and he found that the greatest success of all is being present for the moments that matter, whether it's a father-daughter dance, a homework session at the kitchen table, or a backyard birthday party filled with laughter and love. The millionaire CEO, who once had everything but felt empty, had found something money could never buy: a purpose bigger than himself, and a family that chose to love him not for what he owned, but for who he became when he opened his heart to a crying little girl in a pink physics dress. This story reminds us that we all have the power to change someone's life with simple acts of kindness. If this touched your heart, please share it with others who need this reminder. Like this video, leave a comment telling us about a time someone showed you unexpected kindness, and subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more stories that celebrate the power of human connection. Your support helps us share these important messages of hope and love with the world.